This is the Elevate Media Podcast, created for high achievers on a mission to continuously elevate their life and business. Now here's your host, Chris Anderson.
Welcome back to the Elevate Media Podcast. I'm Chris Anderson, your host. Today we've got another amazing guest. We're going to dive into their journey, their story. I'm excited for you to learn and take something away from this so you can implement in your own journey and continue to elevate what you're doing out there. So today we got a great guest, like I said, Dr. Brian McCarley, founder of Genesis Family Chiropractic. For nearly 20 years, he's been helping entrepreneurs. Nearly 20 years. That's amazing to be able to be in business and helping entrepreneurs for that long. Also business leaders and families. He's doing it by helping them replace the pain and fatigue with some clarity, vitality, and energy through his chiropractic care. So he also guides them in better lifestyle habits and also through faith-based coaching. So super excited to have you, Brian, on the show. Welcome to the Elevate Media Podcast.
Thanks, Chris. I'm happy to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, looking forward to diving into this. Yeah. So would love to kind of just dive right into, we were kind of talking in the green room that we both have backgrounds in athletic training. Mm-hmm. So what made you kind of steer away from that kind of quote unquote stable career to kind of taking a different chance on starting a different business?
I got married. Short answer.
Yeah.
So going a little farther back, even I've always played baseball my whole life growing up. Okay. Got into high school and realized I wasn't as good as I thought I was, and didn't make my high school baseball team, which is fine. Yeah. Got connected with our athletic trainer at the high school, became a student trainer, and found out I loved working with athletes from that perspective, helping with injuries, managing situations on field, that kind of thing, and decided to go to school to do that, and which is how I ended up in athletic training and sports medicine. Got out of school with my degree, got my license, everything. Went to work at a large high school as the head athletic trainer. Did that for about 5 years. But in that meantime, I met my wife, my future wife at that point. I picked her out of the choir at church, there you go. Which was fun.
Yeah.
We dated and got engaged, and we're getting ready to get married. And I looked around at my life and went, wow, this is not a great lifestyle for a newlywed guy. Yeah. Because a lot of times I was at the school till 9 o'clock at night, and on Friday nights it'd be midnight or later before I'd get out of there after a football game or something.
Oh, yeah.
Just crazy. And so I decided I need to do something different. So I looked around, did some different options. Actually got out of healthcare altogether for about a year and a half, and went into working in a business world kind of a role, and learned a lot about business in that role, and then realized I got to get back in healthcare. That's what I'm wired for. Yeah. But at that point, I didn't want to go back to athletic training. And so what are we going to do? So let's look at medical school. We'll look at PT school. We looked at all the options. And when we got down to it, chiropractic was just really the best fit. It was a more natural approach. It aligned with what Michelle and I believed was good for how we're designed by God.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do that. So basically sold about a third of what we owned, gave away another third, and packed the remaining third into a U-Haul, moved to Texas for 3 years.
All right. So we have that connection too. I moved to Texas after college and lived down. What part of Texas were you in?
Dallas, just north side of Dallas.
Okay, I was about 2 hours east of Dallas area, Tyler area. So and then moved to
we have
Sherman.
A little bit of connection to Tyler too. So,
okay, that's awesome. So
small world.
Yeah, it is a small world. But yeah, I kind of saw the same thing of like looking ahead, and that's what a lot of people, listening to this. Maybe you're looking at your life right now, thinking like this is not what I want. This is not the future I want, like looking ahead. And that's kind of what I did. And, what Brian did as well. And just making that choice. And
right.
I'm sure that choice wasn't the easiest. Selling everything, giving away and moving, right?
Our whole family was here. My parents were here. Michelle's parents were here. Both of our siblings were here. Our whole family was here.
Yeah.
And we packed up and moved. And it was a great experience. I told somebody the other day, I said, I'm really glad I did it. I'm really glad I only had to do it once.
Yeah.
If I had to do it all over again, I'm not sure I would make that same choice. Not because I regret it, but because it was really intense.
Yeah.
But got out of school. As we were getting out of school, Michelle was a teacher. Okay. And so we looked around and how we kind of ended up back in central Indiana. Looking around as a teacher and as a chiropractor, we could literally go anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. And looked at a couple of international practices that were on the market at the time. Nice. But when it really boiled down, we're like, it's just hard to beat central Indiana. Yeah. Our families are there, the economy's great, the schools are good. If we decide to have kids, let's just go home. And so that's how we ended up back here. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. And even with that journey, like you made that decision, you came back to Indiana. It's not going to be the last hard decision, right, that you've had to make. What are some others along this journey? Like once you took that leap, it's not just smooth sailing after that.
Yeah. I don't know that I've, since then, really since 2006, which is when we came back to Indiana, that's really probably the last really hard decision we've had to make. I think it's probably more of a series of smaller decisions that come rapid fire.
Sure.
And cumulatively they become difficult.
Yeah.
But each individual decision, if you just look at one, it's like, oh, that's no big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you stack 10 of them on top of each other, you're like, oh, okay, that's a little bit overwhelming at times.
Yeah. How do you like navigate those when you have a lot of those small decisions that can compound and seem a lot bigger than if you look at them individually?
Sure. The approach I take to it from a business perspective is like what I do with my patients too, is that you have to look at them and you say, okay, here's the list. Here's what we've got that we're facing. We need to prioritize this. And we need to prioritize it not just in what's urgent but what's important, but also looking to see how is one decision going to affect other decisions down the road and make sure we put them in the right order. From a healthcare perspective, for example, if someone is immobile, they really can't move. They're stiff. They don't have any flexibility. I mean, I can start adjusting them until the cows come home. But if we don't work on getting some flexibility in there, they're going to be right back where we started, and it's just going to take a lot longer to get them where they need to be.
Yeah.
So we have to prioritize those things. Same thing with business. If I'm looking at advertising, but I'm having a hard time making my bills, for example, or in the early days, probably not going to spend money on advertising right now.
Right.
I need to make sure I'm putting that money into what's keeping the doors open versus trying to grow necessarily, and look at other alternatives for growth, more grassroots kind of ideas. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good reminder, is because we can get so overwhelmed by looking at the full picture, what's on our plate, right? Everything, all the decisions, and we just look at them as a lump sum, and it could be overwhelming.
Sure.
But I think breaking them down, like you said, prioritizing is a good way to kind of manage those in bite-sized pieces. How do you set the priority of what matters most?
You do have to look at what's important and what's urgent.
Yeah.
You kind of rank them, in my mind at least. I don't actually put them down on paper necessarily. Although in the past, one of the things we've done, I'm a big fan of whiteboards and Post-it notes.
Okay, yeah.
We actually, a number of years ago, we kind of developed a system that Michelle and I use not only in the office but at home, of writing each task on a Post-it note, let's say an individual Post-it note.
Yeah.
But then either grab a whiteboard or one of the big like wall-size Post-it notes, like the newsprint size.
Yep.
And then you put them all on there, and then you look at them. Okay, now which one needs to happen first? Which is the most urgent, that has the most negative ramifications if we don't handle it now?
Right.
Versus, can we delay that? It's kind of like, I mean, I hate to say this way, but a lot of people have to look at their bills that way.
Yeah.
And I think we've all been there at different times.
Yep.
Okay, I need to keep the lights on. But it's the middle of summer, so the gas is not as important as the electricity.
Right.
But I need to put gas in the car because I need to be able to get to work. So what's most urgent? I think business is the same way. At least it has been in my experiences. You look at it and say, okay, what's most important right now?
Yeah.
Do I need to hire a new employee, or do I need to advertise and grow first? Can I manage it if I grow without having that extra body around to take care of? Versus if I take that person on, now I've got a responsibility to them too, that if the growth is delayed or doesn't happen like I think it's going to, how do I pay that person?
Right.
How do I keep them employed and keep them happy and keep them fulfilled in what they're doing, and still keep the doors open and then still focus on growth?
Yeah, that's true. I think definitely the prioritization of what actually is important, because a lot of times we could think everything is world ending, like that's that's the huge thing, and I think it also comes back to having mentors and people you can kind of bounce ideas off of. I just had one today with a mentor of like, hey, I have all these ideas, I know what I'm thinking, but I need an outside perspective to like kind of simplify it.
Sure.
And kind of, tell me what I already know, but like help me clear away all the other things flying around in your head. I think that's something important. Did you have mentors like that as you were growing?
Oh, still do.
Yeah.
In fact, growing up, I had my parents were great. Obviously,
That's
had
awesome.
grandparents around who did the same thing. And being involved in the church we were part of, we had just tons of people. One of the most influential men in my life was a guy that gave me my first job.
Oh, cool.
I'm still friends with him to this day. In fact, today's his birthday.
That's awesome.
So I gave him
That's
a call
awesome.
earlier.
There
So
we
happy
go.
birthday. So, but yeah, I think the idea that people tend to get it stuck in a place of thinking, I've got to figure out this on my own,
Right.
or figure this out on my own. Whereas many advisors is undervalued, I would say. Now, you can have too many advisors, and
Right.
a lot of times you have to pick your advisors carefully,
Yep.
because there's a lot of people out there who think they know what they're doing, and they may have a perspective, and they certainly have an opinion, but they may not understand all the nuance of what you're dealing with.
Sure.
And they may not necessarily have your best interest at heart. They may be thinking about what's going on with them, or they're distracted by what is happening in their life. You have to pick those advisors carefully. But I think having multiple different perspectives, that's the real value, I think, in having the advisors. It's not so much necessarily in the advice, but just being able to talk to them and say, what do you see here?
Yeah.
What am I missing? What are the blind spots that I have that if I don't see them, it's going to have bad implications for what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah, because I mean, if we can be completely honest with ourselves, like as CEOs, as the business owners, like we get our own blinders up, we get our ego kind of blocking some of it, and so unless you have someone you can trust on the outside to be like, hey, you know, I like and I understand what you're saying, but let's take a different approach.
Right.
Like if not, like you could be in a big world of hurt.
Yep. Yeah, and I honestly take that approach with my patients too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people, and here's the reality: there's nothing that I know, and I'm going to say this is going to sound really funny. There's nothing that I know in all the education that I have and all the thousands upon thousands of dollars I've spent on education, through school and beyond. Everything I know is available on the internet.
Right.
It's all out there.
Yeah.
All the knowledge is there. Other than things that haven't been discovered yet, it's all out there.
Right.
So I'm not going to be telling anybody anything that's earth-shattering.
Yep.
My role is not to be necessarily the educator from that perspective. It's to be the guide for them to be the hero of their own life.
Yeah.
And it gives me an opportunity, and it gives me great satisfaction to be able to say, hey, think about this. What would happen if you changed this instead of doing this way?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. I never thought about that. Oh, well, think about it.
Yeah.
And then they go, hey, you were right about that.
Yeah.
That's great. I don't care about being right. I'm just glad you're doing better.
Absolutely.
And it's a really fulfilling thing for me at that way.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a great point too. Like everything is on the internet. There is so much out there online that it can also hinder someone. So again, another big benefit of having a coach, mentor, someone to look up to is like, what is true? Like what from your expertise, from your, you know, you've lived it. Can we cut through the noise? Like almost kind of like a, you know, like a bypass around all the information, like to the lane that's going to get you there a little bit quicker. Because there is so much out there nowadays, and you can just get overwhelmed with so much information. You almost get paralysis by analysis, right?
Exactly.
And then you don't do anything.
Right.
Have you ever felt yourself like get in that situation where you're like, I know everything I need to do, but I'm not taking action because I can't make a decision.
Never.
Never?
No, I'm kidding. Of course. Of course. Weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much to be done, especially as a business owner and as a solopreneur, for example, that there's so much that has to be done. It all falls to me or somebody that I can recruit or delegate to.
Yeah.
And you just got to figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
But sometimes you just have to sit back and go, okay, Lord.
Yeah.
Point me, you know?
Yeah.
And just pray and just lean on him and say, here's, you know, what do I need to do next? And then it usually becomes very clear very quickly.
Yeah.
You may not know, and this is something I've really struggled with too in that perspective, blending faith and business is I know what the steps are that need to happen, but I may not know what the next step is until I get this step done.
Yeah.
And the next step doesn't become obvious until you do this step.
Yeah.
And that's just amazing to me. It's literally one foot in front of the other, and then it becomes clear, okay, that's the next step that I have to take. That's the next action I need to take. But until you take the first one, the second one doesn't become clear.
Absolutely. And I you know, I'm in a season right now where that's kind of the case. And I feel like I'm in a season of decisions that there's no right decision. There's no like good decision. You just have to make the best hard decision.
Oh yeah.
Like there's going to be negativity regardless. You just have to try the best to make the right decision.
Right.
Based on the information you do have and all that. And it's hard to do it without getting your emotions and feelings fully guiding you and think a little bit logistically and logically about it too. Have you ever been in that where you're like, I have these three options. None of them are going to be really fun.
Right.
Or, you know, make me feel good, but I've got to choose one.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think sometimes what you're describing for my world is sometimes you have to make the least bad decision.
Yeah.
You have to make the choice that has the least bad ramifications.
Yeah.
And that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes.
Yeah.
But you know, ultimately you're going to find the other side of that. You go, okay, yeah, it could have been a lot worse if I'd chosen one of the other two options. Let's say if you had three to begin with.
Yeah.
But you have to do it. I mean, not doing it is a choice in and of itself too. You know. And that's amazing to me how many people get stuck in that place of, I don't really know how to make a choice here, so I'm just not going to do anything. Well, that's a choice too.
Yeah.
You're making a choice by not making a choice, and sometimes that's worst.
Yeah, and I think we look at those three decisions, and we think the world will end if we choose the wrong one. When in reality, you know, you make the best wrong decision or the best hard decision, and it really is. That'll pass, right? This too shall pass,
right?
And you know, try to look at even the good things. Like this is gonna pass. Like enjoy it, celebrate the moment, but no, like it's just back to the roller coaster of life, and not letting yourself get too drug into the emotional side of the outcome and just do your best and take the next step forward regardless. You mentioned earlier, you love helping entrepreneurs like kind of be the best version of themselves, be healthy and things like that. And I love that, just kind of obviously with the background I have too. Where do you see entrepreneurs going wrong? They're trying to make all these decisions. They're trying to, be the captain of their ship and build something. Where do you see them going wrong in their health and wellness that's actually making it harder to make the right decisions?
Sure. I think part of the problem is it goes back to what you alluded to earlier. There's so much information out there. And as entrepreneurs, at least from my experience, we're all susceptible, let's say, to the bright, shiny syndrome.
Yeah. Yes.
And, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And boom, we're down that rabbit trail and this rabbit trail. And unfortunately, that becomes overwhelming in and of itself because now you're trying to keep all the balls in the air. I don't know how to juggle. I've never learned how to juggle, but I've envisioned myself being this juggler, keeping all these things going. And I think entrepreneurs do that too. It becomes overwhelming and it creates a lack of mental clarity. Yeah. And the reality is, as entrepreneurs, especially as our businesses grow, we're making very time-sensitive and dollar-sensitive decisions that not only affect us, but our families and our employees.
Yeah.
And when we get that lack of clarity, we may not be making great decisions if we can't clear that brain fog.
Sure.
The brain fog is self-created a lot of times because of that idea of, gosh, maybe the next best thing is the next best thing.
Right.
But if we can clear the fog and clear the mud and get down to it, and sometimes it's our own bodies getting in our own way.
Yep.
If we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not exercising, we're not moving, we're not eating well. And there's a ton of overwhelming information about that. There's so many different theories about what works for everybody.
Yep.
And the reality is with that, there's not one thing that works for everybody.
Yeah.
You kind of need somebody to help guide you through that and navigate what's working for me and what doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
It's a multi-pronged approach, and that's what I love doing. Is I love that puzzle.
Yeah.
I love being able to look at exercise, nutrition, chiropractic care.
Sure.
Takes a toll on our body. There's a great book called "The Body Keeps the Score."
Okay.
And it's the idea behind it is that everything that happens to you, it makes an imprint on your body. It takes a toll, whether it's a good toll or a bad toll, and your body remembers those things.
Right.
But if we can't clear those memories and we can't clear that junk, the junk becomes overwhelming and becomes interference in our bodies being able to function the way God intended.
Yeah.
That's my goal, is get people back to the way God intended for their bodies to work, for their minds to work, so they're sleeping better. They got more time to read a bedtime story to their kids at night because they're not, racking their brains about the decisions they have to make at work. They can step away from work and be with their families or be with their loved ones, whoever that might be, and really get a balance in their lives. Yeah. And that balance is huge too, because we get so focused. And there are times as an entrepreneur, we go through those times where we're like, right now, I don't ever want to say my family has to take a back seat.
Yeah.
But sometimes my family has to take a back seat.
Right.
And sometimes I have to focus on work.
Yeah.
And there are other times when work is kind of on autopilot and you can make some of that time back up or make some of that intention back up, where now work is not as intensively on my mind. I can spend more time with my wife and my kids and, whoever that might be that I care about.
Yeah.
And so understanding the ebbs and flows of that, and understanding there are hills and valleys.
Sure.
We all like the mountaintop experience, right? Nobody likes the valleys.
Yeah.
But I think that's navigating that and helping people understand that and reminding them. Again, that's that blind spot.
Yep.
One of my big blind spots is when things are not going well, I'm Chicken Little, right? The sky is falling, right?
Right.
But I have great advisors who say, look, this stinks right now, but it's okay.
Yep.
You're going to get through this, and you're going to get to the side. You're going to realize this was not as big a deal as I thought it was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's like a hindsight, right? You look back, I look back at the problems when I first, quit my job, my 9 to 5 to try to start a business, and like Chicken Little, like, oh my gosh, what is happening?
Right.
And like the problems now, I'm like, okay, those problems back then were much, much simpler.
Right.
Like in the moment, they were like magnified, of course.
Sure.
And I think I like, what you're saying, like there are times for, certain sacrifices that have to be made. And I think that's normal. I think that's, you're never going to have perfect harmony is what I like to use, because like you just have to find the harmony, whatever that looks like, in whatever chapter you are in. Maybe you're in more of a hustle chapter. So friend and family don't get as much time, and then maybe you're at a place where you can coast. And so just finding out what works for you, because you have to take care of yourself mentally too and physically, no matter what, I think. But I always say, like, there will be some moments where I just don't get as much sleep because I'm trying to work on stuff. So that physical part kind of declines, and you just have to balance your ideas and find that harmony with it all.
Right. I had an interesting conversation. A friend of mine is a retired family physician.
Okay.
Excuse me. And we were having a conversation about health and those kind of things. And I told him, I said, in school, we always learn about homeostasis, right?
Yeah.
As an athletic trainer, you study homeostasis, right? Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, I don't even use that word anymore. It's such a horrible word. He goes, what do you mean it's a horrible word? I said, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's a thing that doesn't exist. Within the human body or any living organism, there's not a time in the world where things are static.
Yeah.
He said, what are you talking about?
Growing or dying.
And I said, I call it homodynamics.
Yeah.
Because everything is in flux.
Yep.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the levels are moving and are all changing. Now they all interact and they all affect each other, but there's never a time where things are just static and still.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like you're either growing or dying kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
It's exactly one or the other.
Right.
Even if it feels like you're just coasting, you're coasting downhill if you're not putting the growth into it. So
there's only one way to coast, and that's downhill.
Yeah, exactly. But if people are trying to, kind of stick into the health vein right now, if an entrepreneur is trying to figure out like, okay, I don't have a lot of time in the day. Maybe they do have a lot there. I think we all have the time. It's what we prioritize. Mm-hmm. But if they want to prioritize a little bit of time throughout their day to focus on their health, where would you recommend them starting?
Sure. I think what I would tell them to do is look at what they can do that's going to have the greatest efficacy for what they're trying to accomplish with the least amount of impact, negative impact on their body.
Sure.
I'll give you a great example.
Yeah.
It's funny to say this, but coming from an exercise science background, I've struggled for most of my life to find a mode of exercise that I enjoy well enough to do consistently.
Yeah.
I used to like to lift weights. I'm in my 50s now. Doesn't excite me anymore.
Yeah.
When I was in my 20s, I ran. My knees can't handle that anymore. All those kind of things. But about 2 months ago, I started rucking.
Okay.
And a lot of people may not be familiar with rucking. Rucking is basically walking or hiking but wearing a weighted vest.
Yeah.
Right. And I can go for a walk, and especially you get after it. You get your pace up a little bit, you get your heart rate up a little bit, you start to kind of sweat a little bit.
Yeah.
But I can do a ruck at the same pace and the same distance and all of those things. And when I get done, I'm drenched.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And my heart rate's been up, and it's stayed up like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot more benefit out of it. So I'm really concentrating the effort into getting the most benefit out of the shortest amount of time possible.
Right.
Those are the kind of things I have to tell people to look at. In terms of the business, in order to make that time, because we can't really make time, obviously. Right. We can always make more money, but we can't always make more time. You can't make more time at all. You have to look and say, okay, what am I doing in my business that would make more sense for me to hire someone else to do, for example. If you look at your total income over the course of the year and the total hours you put in to earn that income, that gives you your effective hourly rate.
Right.
And if I'm looking at tasks on my task list and I can hire those tasks to be done for anything less than that hourly rate, I should not be doing those tasks.
Exactly.
I should be hiring those tasks to a virtual assistant or a high school kid who's looking for a part-time job.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Look outside the box and find a solution for that, because then it frees you up as the entrepreneur to make those bigger decisions and to take some of that load off, so you're not just dragging yourself down with those
100%.
things.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that's when I first started Elevate. That was something I learned from people early on, and I knew my skills were only so high, and I didn't want another job. Mm-hmm. I mean, it still feels like you have a job or two as a CEO or founder.
Right.
But I was like, to be able to grow and scale, I can't do those things. And so I sacrificed, some revenue profit margin to be able to build a team.
Right.
So, maybe it didn't take as much for myself to be able to build that out and grow with it. And, but I've also learned that my physical health is a direct correlation to my mental health. Mm-hmm. And so I have to stay active. And I've noticed when I get out of that routine, whether it be even a short workout, or, I coach soccer. So thankfully I have that time to run out and sprint and out sprint some of those high school guys still. So I can still
Nicely
do it.
done. I like it. I like it.
I start having a better mental focus and thought process. Now it's still, if I didn't do that, I can't imagine what I would be like with some of the decisions I have to make. But I think it's just knowing yourself too, and what helps you. Or if I didn't take a lot of sugar,
sure,
that's another correlation to it. I love my ice cream. Bluebell, when it's
Come
on
on.
sale, watch out.
Come on.
Oh man. So I eat way too much of that. And so I have to like I notice I'll get in a rhythm, like probably, days and days and days of eating ice cream every night. And I start feeling crappy and I wonder why. And I'm like, I got to stop. And so having a discipline around that and just knowing yourself
Sure.
is a huge part of your physical health and, what you're doing as a business leader.
Right.
And I think it's different for everybody.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And you have to find what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think that's where a guide or a coach or an advisor, really comes in to help you kind of find those blind spots and figure out, hey, have you thought about doing it this way?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll give you a great example. One of the biggest things I see, especially with entrepreneurs, especially solopreneurs, is we tend to get so focused on doing the work that we look up from our computer and it's been 6 hours that we haven't moved. We haven't gotten away from our desk, even go to the bathroom, much less do anything else. And so I tell people, look, if that's you and if you're finding yourself doing that more often than not, you need to set a timer on your phone or your computer, whatever. And every hour, just get up and walk around the office for 5 or walk around your building.
Yeah.
Just take 5 minutes and step away.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a neurological reason behind that too.
Right.
People forget about that when you're so focused on a task, you actually burn out some of those neurological pathways and you become less efficient at processing the mental activity.
Yep.
It's just like studying. When we were studying for chiropractic school was brutally intense.
Yeah.
And we would study for hours and hours and we realized by the time the second hour rolls around, you're not absorbing nearly as much.
No, you're just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But get up in an hour and go shoot some hoops for a few minutes or just walk around the building, just go talk about something else and come back and you look at the page and you go, oh, that's what that means.
Yep.
It's the aha moment that was never going to come because you were so in it that your body wasn't processing, your brain wasn't
just
processing.
walking through the steps basically and
Exactly.
just blindly seeing things. Yeah, I think that's a huge piece. And I think, for me, like I've noticed intermittent fasting, this is kind of like a shift a little bit, but with health and fitness, like that's something I've noticed I do quite, I guess, regularly that I feel like has helped me.
Sure.
I didn't know your thoughts on the intermittent fasting thing because I've seen some more of this come up recently and I didn't know your thoughts on that side of things because there's both camps, obviously.
Yeah, I think so. From a biological perspective, we eat 3 meals a day, but 3 meals a day is really a product of the Industrial Revolution.
Yep, just like school. No, we won't get in there.
Exactly. No, that's a different topic for a different episode. Yes. But we can go down that road if you want to sometime. But no, I think from that perspective, that 3 meals a day is a product of the Industrial Revolution and industrializing everything, including farming.
Yep.
The reality is, historically, that's not the way we ate.
Right.
Our bodies are not really designed to operate that way.
Yeah.
So intermittent fasting is kind of a throwback to that. And now, that being said, there's different ways to do intermittent fasting.
Right.
I just learned about a different one last week, actually.
Okay.
And everybody talks about the 16-8
Right.
or the 14-10 or whatever it is.
Yep.
I actually learned of a guy who is doing every other day fasting.
Okay.
Now he's mostly eating carnivore.
Okay.
So he's mostly eating meat and butter.
Sure.
Very very little vegetable or fruit
Sounds like
matter.
me.
What's that?
It sounds like mine.
It sounds
like
delicious.
Me. Sounds like what I do.
I love the idea. But he only eats every other day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Fully.
literally
okay.
every other day he does not eat. He
Interesting.
just drinks water.
Interesting. Okay.
And his physiology's improving. His weight's coming down. All the things that we would do something like that for the outcomes that we always look for. All those markers are improving.
Yeah, the T cells coming in and eating stuff up and getting rid of stuff. I mean, Jesus fasted for 40 days, right, or something.
Right.
So
right.
like, if he did it, I mean,
40 days is a long time.
It's a long time. I'm not Jesus, so I'll do a condensed version maybe. But
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how the body's made to do that too.
Yeah.
And not on accident.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Well, and even looking at hormone balances and all of the adiponectins and the ghrelins and all the other hormones we talk about, and the way things change when you fast, and your body needs those resets from time to time. Now it needs to be deliberate.
Sure.
I don't encourage anybody to just go willy-nilly. I'm just gonna. You need to plan. You need to prepare for that. If nothing else, mentally.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that, and Michelle and I have explored a lot of different options about nutrition over the years. And listen, if it's out there and it's been recommended as even a fad or anything else, we've probably tried it on ourselves before we recommend it to anyone else, because I want to know what the effects are. And one of the best things I ever came across was when we first did Whole30, which a lot of your viewers may be familiar with the Whole30 program. Yeah. When it first came out, they came out with their first book. It was interesting because the first section of the book kind of tells about the basic premise behind Whole30. But the second section is a timeline. And it gives you a timeline over the 30 days of what to expect each day. And I remember reading that timeline and got to day 5 or 6, I think it was, and it says, you're going to want to kill all the things. Well, if I'd gotten to day 5 or 6 and hadn't read that ahead of time, and I'd been
exactly,
ready to kill all the things,
yeah.
I would have, what's wrong with me?
Exactly.
But because I knew it was coming, I was able to anticipate and able to plan for that and go, okay, I just need to not be around people today.
Yeah.
I'm just going to not be. I'm going to take the day off, or I'm going to plan it so that that's a Saturday when I'm not seeing patients, and I can just hang out at home with my wife and she gets to take the brunt of it, I guess. Or I'll just go somewhere else and do something else. It was, but you plan for it.
Yeah.
And that's where a guide comes in. You may not have the resources to be able to see this is what the timeline looks like, but as a clinician, that's one of my things is to say, okay, look, here's what you should anticipate happening.
Yeah.
By day 3, you're going to experience this. Day 4, 5, 6, this is going to change.
Yeah.
And so it's a real benefit to be able to tell people that. But as far as intermittent fasting goes, which is where we started this rabbit trail, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I think it's a really great approach. It needs to be entered into, I don't necessarily with caution, but with an understanding of what's going to happen.
Right.
Because when you are fasting, especially early on when you start that process, you're going to feel hungry. The question becomes, are you really hungry or are you bored?
Yeah.
And that's, people don't know to make that distinction.
Yeah.
But if you kind of go down the road, you know, okay, maybe I'm not really hungry. Let me go drink some water. Let me drink a big glass of water, a little bit of lemon juice in it maybe, see if I feel better after that. If I do, I was probably bored. I wasn't actually hungry. So,
Yeah. I think that's a good, and something to just think about. And I think it's interesting, you know, in the Bible, how many times it, you know, mentions prayer and fasting. And so I think there's got to be a benefit there.
Absolutely.
For sure. If it's mentioned anything in there. And, you know, I know, you know, mentions your faith a little bit. How has that shaped you, you know, leading and serving in your business?
Oh gosh, that's a really great question. I think the inherent value of the individual, the realization that we're all valuable.
Yeah,
we're not always necessarily all valuable to each other at the same level, but we're all valuable to God.
Yeah,
and we're all created in His image. We're all His masterpiece.
Right.
And I should be treating everybody that I come into contact with, especially those who are seeking my help, as though that's what they are, because that is what they are.
Yeah.
And if I'm not doing that, then I'm not only dishonoring them, but I'm dishonoring my Creator.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you're going to get me emotional here.
No, it's all right.
This is near and dear.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that of like everyone is, you know, made in His image, and like they all matter. You might not agree with them, their positions, the things they do, but they all matter, and they're all humans. And, you know, I'm the farthest from perfect. And so, like, to be able to, you know, judge someone else, like, sure, you might get upset with someone or disagree. I think we just have gotten away from the point of being able to actually disagree and just be like, okay, whatever, it is what it is. But, yeah, I think the intrinsic values of that is just treat others how you want to be treated, you know, try to turn the other cheek, do the right thing, help someone in need, even if they're different than you. Just those things that I think, you know, we need to remember more in our daily, and stop focusing, you know, me, I'm talking to myself right now, stop focusing on yourself and see other people more. Because, you know, we get in those silos, those blinders up, and we're just focused on getting the work done, instead of taking a breath and saying, okay, you know, this client is a person. Like, they have kids, they have families, they have people they serve. Like, how can we do even better with what we're doing so we help elevate what they're doing even more,
right? And
seeing it from that perspective versus just a task to get done.
Right.
So,
I think it's interesting. You know, we're talking about this being created in His image, and I think I had an epiphany here in the last few weeks. It was a study I was doing, and it was, you know, if you go back to Genesis chapter 3, let's create man in our image.
Yeah.
Let us create man in our image,
Yeah.
and you know, the Trinity can be such a hard concept to think about when you try to think about God, but we talk about being created in His image as though we're 3 in 1, like He's 3 in 1. But the other layer to that is, let us create man in our image, is that God is in community with Himself.
That's true. Yeah.
He is in perfect community with Himself. Well, if we're created in His image and we're not in community with others, then we're out of sync. We're out of balance.
Yeah.
And so it's not just a matter of trying to be the best version of ourselves that we can be to honor Him, but we need to be in community with others. And if we're not doing that, we're missing the mark.
Yeah, and I think so much is like built around to avoid that. Less community because we can do everything online.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And we are less creative, like because we're doing a job to just pay a paycheck to pay for our stuff. And if you think about it, the thing that brings people joy are their hobbies.
Right.
And most hobbies are creative outlets. And before all the, hey, money, transactional stuff, like people leaned into what they're good, blacksmiths, sculptors, farmers, they're creating still. Like, so they all had a creative outlet, raising animals, that's still creating new animals, caring for them. And we've gotten so far away from that. That's our hobby that we spend like hardly any time on to focus on things outside of that and not winning the community because of it. And it's just an interesting, like, kind of dynamic or paradigm to think about is you think if we could just be the creators we were supposed to be.
Right.
Like,
right.
And how,
but
yeah.
And it's interesting you say that too, because we're in a time when we are the most connected we've ever been in terms of information sharing, but we're the most disconnected that we've ever been.
Yeah.
Because we just don't do things together.
Yeah.
We don't gather together.
Right.
I mean, even church, in America, as in a lot of countries, church used to be the central gathering point.
Yeah.
And it was up until, even to the end of the early 2000s.
Right.
And then with the pandemic, starting in 2020, so many churches started offering their services online where only a few did that prior to that.
Right.
But now everybody's streaming because the streaming services have went like this in their availability and their technology. It hurts my heart to see how many people. Well, I go to church. I watch online. Yeah. Okay. Well, so you're getting the sermon, you're getting the message. I get that, but you're not in community with other believers, and you're missing out on a huge element of being part of the family of God.
Yeah.
And so I try to encourage people to look. If you're a person of faith, and certainly I see people in my office who are not people of faith.
Sure.
But most people are. We attract what we are.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And most people that I see are, and I say, if you're a person of faith and if you don't have a church home, that's okay.
Right.
But you need to be trying to find one, or at least find a community, even if it's one that you create, people that you know who are friends, who are believers. Get together and just have a meal.
Right.
Just do it regularly. Just break bread together. Ideally, you'd be in a family of believers, in a church family, for example.
Yeah.
But if nothing else, meet with other people.
Yeah, business, business same way. Like that's why we see people like almost forcing people back to the office because, yes, working from home is comfortable but less effective. And when you're in a community, you kind of, get on the same playing field, the same vision together. You can work together easier, and you just build those connections. And we push back because people just want the comfort and the ease. And, I have to get dressed now and go drive and do all that. And I think we're going to see even more with businesses, with AI, the rise of AI, so much content online, like businesses that can utilize content that builds that trust. People are going to start buying even more so from people they know, like, and trust with all the content that's just being pushed out there. So, businesses, I think, are going to start doing more, stuff like this, podcasts, showing their face. The C-suite level will start doing it to build that connection to compete with these huge brands that are already a well-established name. And then I think events will start being a big thing again, in person, even more. I mean, we've seen them come back. So, and I think, I think it's that community piece that we strive for. I'm excited for that. Yeah. To have that on both sides.
And thank God for things like how you and I first got connected through this Bulls and Business group that we're part of. That's exactly what you're describing. Yeah. It's business people, business owners primarily, getting together and just being together.
100%.
In person.
Yep.
Certainly everything we do at a Bulls and Business meetup, we could do online. We could do it as a mass Zoom or whatever. Right. But gosh, where's the fun in that? Think about how much fun we get when we get together. We get to shake hands and hug necks and all the stuff that makes humans human. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just fun stuff.
Yeah, I think it's such a we're gonna really yearn for it so much more with everything online and AI and I think it's just gonna become part of our lifestyle. Hopefully more as people are gonna seek those opportunities more and more and just continue to lean into the community aspect. And just make it, it's just habits, right? We just have to form the habits of doing that, going out and going. Like a lot of times, like things like that, I'd be like, I don't really feel like going. Like, I have to drive all the way there and all this. And then in my head, I'm like, then that's what you need to do.
Right.
Like, if there's that much pushback, go, because there's going to be some benefit.
Right.
You know, whether it be you just improve your, you know, connecting with someone you don't know. Maybe you do meet someone. Who knows?
Right.
It's just building that into your habits and kind of your lifestyle almost.
Yeah.
But, you know, for you, I mean, you've, you know, decades in business, things like that. What are some of the, you know, daily habits you've implemented that's really helped you, you know, continue to grow physically and in the business world?
Oh, great question. For me, as much as anything, it's just being connected to people as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I try to design. I'm gonna say it this way. It's gonna sound kind of funny. I've tried to design even my business in a way to make sure that I'm maximizing those connections.
Sure.
Give you an example. Most people who have been to a chiropractor have gone in, and it's like going to the doctor's office. You go in, they put you in a room, and you wait for the doctor to come in and see you, and then you leave, right? My office is not structured like that.
Nice.
My office we use what's called an open adjusting concept.
Okay. Yep.
So where we have multiple adjusting tables in the space. There are no partitions between them. Now, we do have a separate room if somebody needs to have a confidential conversation.
Sure.
We need to have space to do that.
Yep.
But for the most part, most of our interactions, there's not a lot of confidential information that's shared.
Yeah.
But a patient may have a question, for example, that they are open to ask that's not of a confidential nature.
Yeah.
And they ask, and we'll talk about it. The cool part is there's other patients in the area. They can overhear that conversation. And they may have never thought to ask that question, but then they're like, well, wait a minute, that's a great question. I'd like to know that answer too.
Yeah.
And now it's an opportunity to have that communication. And then they can even chime in and say, well, what about this part, doc? And and so it's just a great
More
way
community.
to open that up and just create those connections. For me, that's a huge thing. I do the same thing in church, for example, or any other interaction I have. I love, like the Bowls in Business. I love going to that event because not only do I get to meet people I didn't know otherwise, but I get to continue to connect with people I did know.
Right.
And it's amazing who I learned from.
Oh, yeah.
I give you a great example. This whole rucking thing it's kind of taken on a life of its own. It's hilarious.
Awesome. That's awesome.
The last meetup that I went to, or 2 meetups ago, I had an opportunity to actually kind of announce this new venture I'm doing, this Genesis Elite thing, which hopefully we get a chance to talk about that a little bit too. But I wore my rucking vest because I started a rucking group because I think it's a great way for exercise to happen. And I have a real heart for men and men's leadership, especially. And I thought, you know what, a great way to do this. Let's get some guys together. Let's do a rucking event, but we'll have time for prayer.
Yeah.
We'll have a devotional. Then we'll ruck together and we'll talk about whatever we want to talk about.
Yeah.
If we need advice, you want to talk about the devotional, you want to talk about what's happening in church, what's going on with your family, anything, you know.
Yeah.
And so I wore my vest just as kind of a pattern interrupt for people. That was 2 times ago. Well, this last time I didn't take my vest. I didn't wear my vest. And I walk in and I'm talking to this young guy I hadn't met before. And he goes, oh, wait, you're the rucking doc. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so now the rucking doc moniker has kind of taken on a life of its own, right?
Yeah.
But those kind of things that are almost, I don't want to call it happenstance because I think there's a plan, right? I may not have known what the plan was, but it's becoming clear what the plan is going to become.
Yeah.
I think that's a thing. But building those kind of things in there and then having the discipline to act on not just being a guy that's called the rucking doc, but actually be the rucking doc. You know, get out and get my vest on and go for a ruck, you know.
Yeah.
And break a sweat a little bit, get my heart rate up. And, you know, and see some people. It's funny, I have side note on the rucking thing. The vest, there's different types of vests out there for rucking, and the one I have, it looks like a bulletproof vest, like a plate carrier. And so I'm rucking through downtown Noblesville, and people are driving by going,
oh, what's going on?
What's going on with
Where's
that
the
guy?
cops? What's happening?
You know, what's happening? I actually wore it to church one day because of this group that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And wanted to try to publicize that and get some more guys to say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I walked in, and the lady who runs our hospitality team, she walks over and she goes, are we under a credible threat? Is there something I need to know?
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, what are you talking about? Oh, the vest. No, that's not that.
Oh,
It was
no.
just hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, building some of those kind of structures into what my daily schedule is and making sure I'm not neglecting any of those areas of my life.
Yeah.
Even I have a reminder on my phone about my relationship with my wife.
Yeah.
Because like anybody, I tend to get head down, tail up. And the last person I want to forget to take care of is my wife.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's true for all of us. I think you've got to build those structures as reminders.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, like I said, 6 hours at your computer and you go, I didn't even go to the bathroom yet.
Right.
So we got to figure that out. So.
And that's cool. And so this Genesis Elite, it kind of ties back to the community, ties back to health, ties back to relationships. Like, you know, that's for, you said what, men, business owners. Is that right? Or
So Genesis Elite it's a new division of the company that I'm launching.
Sure.
I'm still going to be taking care of people through Genesis Family Chiropractic, but Genesis Elite is primarily aimed at men who are C-suite executives or entrepreneurs who, I'm going to say it this way, it's going to sound kind of funny, but they have more money than they have time.
Gotcha.
They don't necessarily have the time to get in their car, drive to my office or anybody's office for that matter, get the care that they need and then drive back. They would rather spend that time fulfilling their goals and save time for their families later.
Yep.
So Genesis Elite is me coming to them,
Gotcha.
pulling not only on the chiropractic background that I have,
Cool.
but also the athletic training background,
Yep.
and helping with mobility, flexibility, some strength training,
Yeah.
talking nutrition, doing what I'm calling my nest assessment, where I go in and I'm actually evaluating their nest, whether it's their workplace or their home.
Gotcha.
Because it's so many times we are doing things in our normal everyday routines that we don't think that are having a negative impact on our health.
Right.
Because we have those blinders on. We
Yep.
just don't see it.
Yep.
But a third party can come in and go, oh, yeah, you're doing – well, I'll give you a great example. I can't tell you how many of my female patients – and this is not a knock on women. This is just an observation.
Sure.
They're having trouble and they don't understand why they keep having the same patterns all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get done with their appointment and they get ready to walk out and they pick up their purse and they throw it on their shoulder. I say, do you always carry your purse on the right shoulder? Yeah, I guess I do.
Yep.
Try switching shoulders. And it's so awkward. Yeah, it's because you're so used to it on the right shoulder. And that's part of what's reproducing those patterns in your life. And it may be the way our mouse is set at our computer or where the angle of our monitor to where we're sitting in our chair.
Yep.
Our chair. I mean, it kind of takes the idea of ergonomics and adds some steroids to it.
Yeah.
Pluses it and says, don't just tell me about your space. I want to see your space because I'm going to see things that you don't even know to look for.
Yep.
And not that I'm all that smart, but I'm a third party, just a different perspective.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
No, I love that.
that's what Genesis Elite is.
That's really cool. No, I really like that. I think that's a great thing to be able to do because you can only do so much by what they're telling you, but when you can put your eyes on it, like, you can do a whole lot with that. So we're gonna round things out here in a little bit with some rapid fire questions. But first, I want to ask you this one. So about legacy. You know, we've heard different answers from this kind of question. But when people think of you, you know, years from now, many, 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 many years ago from now, when your time's done here on Earth, okay, everything you've done, gone, except one thing. What is that one thing that you want to be left that people remember you by?
I've never had anybody ask me to distill it down to one thing.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is probably the biggest answer is I don't want them to remember me.
Yeah.
I want the legacy to be that I've helped men step into who they were supposed to be in leading their businesses and primarily their families and discipling their wives and their children so that their wives and children can disciple others.
Yeah.
My legacy, I don't think will have anything to do with business, other than that business is kind of a means to an end.
Yeah.
But the ultimate legacy is the faith, the faith legacy.
That's awesome. That's a good one for sure. So, and then what's one habit you hope your kids take from you?
Well, if I had kids,
Okay.
if I had kids, listening.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Listening is an art and a skill that I think is so lost in our culture. I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, your eye contact is almost creepy, for example. But that's because that's the way I was raised.
Sure.
Growing up, when you're speaking to someone, you look them in the eye.
Yeah.
And I think, and that doesn't sound like listening, but it is.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people act like they're listening, but they're really just waiting to respond
Yes.
instead of listening.
Yeah.
And people just need to be willing to say, I hear you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to process that rather than going, oh, here's what I think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing to me, I think.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a lost skill that, we talk about it with, our kids and with the soccer guys. It's like, hey, when we're talking to you, just like look at us. Like,
Sure.
we know you're paying attention at least.
Right.
Their mind's probably going everywhere else, but at least we know you're kind of focused in.
Right.
And it's a start. So I think, that's a really good one, I think, for anyone listening to kind of try to implement more. I could do that better too. So, all right. So rapid fire, little closing segments. We got some questions. The biggest health myth you wish people would stop believing?
Oh, gosh. The biggest health myth. that chiropractic is just for back pain and neck pain.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. What's one daily habit that gives you the most energy?
Drinking my water, getting my full complement of water. And it sounds funny because there's no energy in water.
Yeah.
But staying hydrated makes a massive difference for me, not only in the energy that my body produces through the day, but in how well I sleep at night the following night.
Awesome. Yeah. That's a good one. Absolutely. Yeah. I need more water all the time.
Yeah.
Cold plunge versus sauna.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I knew you were going to say that. I know.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
They both hold. They both play a good role.
Yep. I love it. Oh, yeah.
The temperature differential, and it's not it's not that one's better than the other. I think the differential. We talk about the delta.
Yeah.
The delta T there is what makes the difference.
Yeah.
Our bodies are designed to adapt, and if we're not challenging them to adapt, whether it be exercise or cold plunge or sauna, we lose the ability to adapt. And when we lose the ability to adapt, then when things change, our bodies don't know what to do with it, and that's where we start getting sick and we start developing chronic conditions, things like that. So
100%. Have you been to Cold Plunge Studios in Carmel there?
I have not.
Okay, they have the cold plunge, sauna, and red light therapy.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like right there past Kohl's and stuff on like what is 161st?
Okay.
Right there. So
okay, yeah, I'll have to check them out.
It's an awesome spot for sure. So, the worst thing entrepreneurs do with their bodies without realizing it.
Sit in a C.
Sit in a C.
Sit in a C.
Oh yeah.
Hunched over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been said sitting is the new smoking, and I think so many times again we get so focused on our computer and we get into this head forward posture, and it's just probably just about the worst thing we can possibly do for ourselves.
Yeah. Get a standing desk.
Opt for a stand-up desk.
Yeah.
Or opt for a high-low desk.
Yeah.
So because sometimes you do want to sit down.
Yeah.
Opt for a desk that, especially the motorized ones that go up and down.
Yep.
But
you hear this, Kevin? I'm talking to Kevin, one of our studio guys, editors. We got your standing desk.
There you go. Yeah, I think primarily we should be standing to work as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that'll give you energy through that. It sounds odd to say, well, I'm standing up. It requires more energy to stand than it does to sit, except that sitting alters your neurology. Standing stimulates your neurology, which keeps you fresh.
Yeah, it's like learning. Like people are like sales calls. Like stand if you can and be on the phone when you take sales calls because your energy changes and all that. So that's great. Last one. If you could give every busy professional just one adjustment, physically or lifestyle, what would it be?
Well, these are good questions, Chris. If I give them one adjustment, whether physical or lifestyle, I would say lifestyle.
Okay.
Smile more.
Smile more. Yeah.
Yeah, worry less and smile more.
I love that one.
Even if you have to force it.
Yep.
Look in the mirror and smile at yourself.
Yeah. That's a good one. I love that. That's a great one.
And it's free.
So. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So, well, Brian, this has been a great conversation. Super, super appreciative. If people want to connect with you, find out more about, what you do, Genesis Elite, all that things, what's the best place for them to go?
Best place to go is to our Facebook page, Genesis Family Chiropractic.
Perfect.
That's the best place to connect with me there. And you can shoot me a private message there if you have specific questions, or just check out what we're doing on the Facebook page there.
Awesome. Yeah.
So,
well, everyone make sure you go do that, get connected with Brian and what they're doing. It's amazing stuff. Continue to learn from them. But until next time, let's go out there, continue to elevate your life, elevate your brands, and we'll talk to you again soon.